Well, today is the first day of teachings for our 8th annual, right, Exploring Monastic Life program. As far as I can tell, there are very few such programs anywhere in the world. So one of the things I wanted to address today is just this reflection based on the conversation that we just had. In the Tibetan tradition, with our kind appreciation for Lama Atisha, the outline we have for how to realize complete awakening begins with reflecting on our precious opportunity at the moment, our precious human life. And in that meditation, we think about, the opportunity we have right now. And that includes being born human, which is rare enough, and that includes being born at a time when the Buddha has taught and so forth. One of the things that you think about is being born in a place where the Dharma exists, and where you have access to teachers and teachings and the example of Sangha communities that are upholding the precepts. And I always pause at this moment because I was born in 1953 in Atlanta, Georgia. And in truth, I was not born in a place where the teachings existed, where there was a Sangha community that would influence you. That didn't exist where I grew up. And I would say for most Americans and for most Westerners, this was true, especially of my generation. Maybe not so true for another generation of people who are here studying. But when I grew up, there was no such thing except perhaps in the Chinese communities, and really where I lived in Atlanta, there was a very, very small Chinese communities, maybe more on the west and east coast, big cities where the Chinese and Japanese immigrants had come. But the very fact that in my lifetime, this has changed from a place where the Dharma didn't seem to exist. I couldn't find it if I was looking for it. There were no examples of anyone unless there was someone traveling through at the invitation of who knows whom, to a time and a place where we can gather in a monastery in the United States of America with a functioning Sangha community, with spiritual guidance, with people to explore monastic life. This is incredible. This is really worthy of thinking about our precious human life and our precious experience, because to see something like that change so dramatically in my lifetime, which is not that long, it's getting longer, but it's not that long, I think is something to just kind of hold and nurture, as something to rejoice at again. And then to think about how did that happen? To go back to the circumstances that made the Dharma show up here. In some cases the tremendous tragedy, well, for sure it was a tremendous tragedy, but to think about the Tibetans having to leave their home, having to leave their culture under siege by a government or a communist regime that didn't at all understand what was the value of what that they had to offer. And then as a people in exile, teachers actually coming to this country. And then young people at that time who were looking so much for another way of viewing the world, another way of living that fought the materialism and fought the greed and fought the hatred that was so much and is so much a part of our culture. Connecting with those teachers and then going to Asia to study. And then what did they do? They bring it back. They could have stayed there and lived happily ever after, I suppose, but they also brought that home. And so to think about who are our teachers, the translators, their teachers, who translated for them, think about the lineage of teachings that have gone back through all the traditions, back to the very Buddha himself, how those teachings got spread from India into China, into Tibet, into Sri Lanka, into those countries where it spread. We're so much a part of this interdependent happening that's been going on now for thousands of years. And of course, before the Buddha, there was another Buddha. So it goes back even further than that. Who knows what's in our minds, and who knows how our karma ripened to be here. But if we think about today, being at Exploring Monastic Life in 2012 in Newport, Washington, all the causes and conditions that made this happen together. It's worth meditating on. It's worth really rejoicing about. It's worth thinking about what is our relationship to that continuity, whatever decisions we make about monastic life or whatever. But what is our relationship to that continuity, and how do we continue to benefit sentient beings in the same way that we have been benefited as we go forward with our spiritual practice in our lives? So think about that. And the people watching the video also have a role in this, because we would not be here without that support. Everybody's involved. And so to really celebrate it.